I transmigrated into a sweet, pampering novel. But the identity I woke up with shocked me. I had become the mafia heir. The female lead of this story was Willow, my family's adopted daughter. In the original plot, I had humiliated her countless times. She was known as a cold-blooded, fierce mafia rose. And right now, the male lead, the illegitimate son, stood before me, full of righteous anger, shouting, "Scumbag, I won't let you hurt her again." But the very next second, the icy and gloomy Willow pressed a knife straight against his neck. I calmly announced, "Bro, I proudly declare you the clown of the year." I transmigrated into the book at a very coincidental moment. My father had just assigned Willow, the infamous underworld femme fatale, to be my personal bodyguard. She accepted the order silently, but having read the entire novel, I knew very well she didn't want this role at all. The heroine admired strength and despised weakness. In her eyes, I was nothing more than a black market rich kid who only knew how to talk business. She believed I wasn't fit for the underworld. The original me looked down on her as well, simply because she was a female bodyguard. Teasing her was his daily entertainment. That constant humiliation disgusted her deeply. But because she owed my family a life-saving debt, she endured everything in silence. Over time, her personality grew darker, colder, more withdrawn. And that was exactly how the male lead, the illegitimate son, found his chance. He saved her, then used her against me. But now that I was here, I would never let that happen. So I took the initiative and went straight to my father. I proposed a fight, a one-on-one duel. Whoever knocked the other to the ground would win, and the winner would decide everything. In the arena, I stared emotionlessly at the cold-faced girl standing across from me and said loudly, "Use your full strength. I won't go easy on you just because you're a woman." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Without a word, she assumed a ready-to-strike stance. "Begin!" With that command, the match officially started. At first, she was full of contempt. But when every single one of her attacks was effortlessly neutralized by me, she finally got serious. After playing with her long enough, I shifted my weight and drove my fist straight into her lower abdomen. She cried out in pain, stumbled back several steps, and collapsed onto the ground. She looked up at me in shock, biting her lip. "Why you?" I raised an eyebrow, my voice cold. "Willow, you lost." From that moment on, I became Willow's boss. After that day, many people challenged me one after another, but every single one of them was defeated. After all, in my previous life, I had been a top-tier Sunday champion. The results didn't surprise me at all. One day, when Willow learned that I had once been seriously injured during a match, she couldn't help asking, "Why do you always fight so desperately?" I glanced at her and replied seriously, "I know you look down on me, and you're not the only one. Many people in the syndicate look down on me too. They think I'm just a spoiled rich kid who only knows how to brag. The reason I give everything I've got isn't just because of you. I want everyone to see this. My father's son is not a useless waste." She lowered her head, avoiding my gaze, her lips tightening. "I'm sorry. I misjudged you before." I waved my hand. "What I need isn't an apology. I need loyalty." Willow froze. I met her eyes and said earnestly, "Willow, there's only one thing you need to remember. As long as you're loyal to me, I will never fail you." The moment I finished speaking, she lifted her gaze without even a second of hesitation. Word by word, she answered, "Since I'm your person now, I'll follow you for the rest of my life." I looked at her and curved my lips into a faint smile. Conquering a woman takes only a few steps. First, subdue her with strength. Then, move her with attitude. Who cares about my father? It's not like I take him that seriously. I was only curious about one thing. Now that I had seized the advantage, what would the male lead do next? In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. I was now a junior in college, yet I had already taken over part of my father's business operations. I had also moved into an apartment closer to campus. But today, a sudden phone call summoned me back home. My father wanted to see me. Sitting in the car on the way back to the villa, I spoke casually, "Willow, something interesting is going to happen today." Willow turned to look at me, her face filled with confusion. I only raised an eyebrow, having no intention of explaining anything. The heroine, your so-called male lead, was about to make his entrance today. Let's see whether this plot could still be changed. And if it couldn't, then I would simply have to get rid of him. After all, even if my identity in this world was fake, the achievements I had worked so hard for over the years were real, and there was no way I would hand them over to someone else. The moment I stepped into the villa, I immediately saw a man sitting beside my father. He was dressed neatly and formally, his gaze clear and upright. The instant he saw me, he politely stood up. My father patted his shoulder, but when he turned to look at me, his eyes carried a warning. His voice was cold as he said, "George, this is your younger brother, Ehsan. From now on, take good care of him." I frowned slightly. Ehsan. A name clearly meant for inheritance. So my father really valued him. I smiled indifferently, walked straight up to Ehsan, and in the very next second, raised my fist and punched him squarely in the face. Everyone's expression changed instantly. My father rushed forward and stepped in front of Ehsan, furious as he roared, "George, what do you think you're doing?" Ehsan's face twisted from the impact. He clutched his nose as blood flowed uncontrollably, making him look utterly miserable. Yet even in that state, he still stopped my father, insisting that he was fine. If I didn't already know about the ruthless ambitions he hid so well, I might have been fooled too. I lifted my head and stared at my father expressionlessly, my voice cold. "Dad, it's one thing to hide an illegitimate mutt outside, but bringing him home? Isn't that a little too insulting to me?" My father was livid. He slammed the table hard. "George, are you rebelling? How dare you talk to me like that?" Willow stood beside me, completely unafraid, as she faced her adoptive father head-on. Seeing this, my father's expression darkened even further. I chuckled lightly and waved my hand. Only then did Willow carefully retreat behind me. I continued calmly. "Besides, since you brought the bastard home, how could you leave a boy's mother outside?" As I spoke, I slowly walked toward Uncle Castillo, the gang's elder and my father's right-hand man. I slapped a thick stack of photos straight onto a woman's face and said with a smile, "Aunt Han, you've been having an affair with my father for so many years. And your child is already as old as I am. Tell me, does Uncle Castillo know about this?" The photos scattered across the floor. Every single one showed intimate poses between a man and a woman. The room fell into stunned silence. Aunt Han's face turned deathly pale. She staggered backward, step after step, until she lost her footing and fell straight to the ground. But in the very next second, Uncle Castillo grabbed her by the hair and slapped her 3 times in a row. Her face swelled instantly, yet she still desperately tried to defend herself. "These are fake. They're not real." But when Ehsan saw her being beaten, he panicked and instinctively shouted, "Nong." That single word sealed everything. I laughed openly. Well, even your son admitted it. Seeing the situation spiral completely out of control, my father tried to step in and stop the farce. But Uncle Castillo, blinded by rage, ended up fighting him directly. The entire hall descended into absolute chaos. I watched the scene coldly, yet a faint smile tugged at my lips. "Willow, we're leaving." Willow nodded, but just as we reached the door, someone suddenly blocked our path. Ehsan glared at me furiously and shouted, "You bastard! This is all you're doing." Then he turned to Willow. His eyes were filled with sincerity and desperation. He grabbed Willow's wrist and said urgently, "Willow, I won't let the scumbag hurt you again. I'm here to save you." The moment his words fell, Willow pressed a knife straight against his neck. Ehsan froze. His expression turned completely blank, shock written all over his face. He went pale, as if he simply couldn't understand what was happening. I looked him directly in the eyes and said with a smile, "If you provoke her, are you sure you still want to live?" Then I made a solemn announcement. "Brother, I hereby crown you Clown of the Year." I truly never imagined Ehsan would be stupid enough to provoke her right in front of me. Did he really think Willow would go with him? Besides, all these years, I had never mistreated Willow at all. What saving was he even talking about? Unless he was still living inside the original storyline. At that thought, a hint of wicked amusement flashed across my eyes. This game had just become a lot more interesting. In the end, the matter fizzled out. I didn't know what my father promised Uncle Castillo, but Uncle Castillo ultimately swallowed his anger and tolerated the affair. My father even went all out and hosted a grand banquet to officially announce Asen's identity. As for Aunt Han, my father certainly wasn't stupid enough to bring her home. He might like Aunt Han, but the thing he loved most was still his reputation. He would never allow the outside world to know that he was the kind of scumbag who had been having an affair with a subordinate's wife for years. And since Uncle Castillo only forgave my father for the sake of interest, the only person left for him to vent his rage on was Aunt Han. Inside the banquet hall, Willow sat beside me and quietly placed several photos onto the coffee table. She said calmly, "Mr. Wang sent her abroad." In the photos, Aunt Han was reluctantly saying goodbye to my father. She was wrapped tightly from head to toe, yet the terrifying bruises covering her skin were still clearly visible. She even needed someone to support her just to walk. I sighed softly. Looks like Uncle Castillo didn't hold back at all. Setting my glass down, I spoke coolly. Her son is now a member of the Wang family and one of the legitimate heirs. She spent years scheming for exactly this. So why would she leave so willingly? What did my father promise her? Willow rested her cheek against one hand and replied casually, Mr. Wang promised her that he would bring her back in a few years. But privately, he ordered that she must never be allowed to return to the country again. As she spoke, she casually picked up my glass and took a sip. Then, pretending to realize it wasn't haze, she gently placed it back on the table. I looked at her. She blinked innocently at me, her expression pure and harmless. But the lipstick mark on the rim of the glass, along with a faint blush on her cheeks, was far too obvious. I smiled slightly. Just then, a hearty voice sounded from behind us. "Brother, Willow, what are you two talking about? You look so happy." I turned around and saw my father and Asen walking toward us, both dressed in luxurious formal attire. Asen's eyes were glued to Willow, burning with undisguised desire. Having something of mine coveted by someone else displeased me, but I still maintained a polite smile. We were talking about Aunt Han. When I saw Asen's expression stiffen, I let my gaze drift between him and my father and said regretfully, "Asen, do you know? Aunt Han has been sent away, and she'll never come back." Asen forced a smile and replied with practiced humility, "That was father's decision. I didn't know." I raised an eyebrow and exchanged a glance with Willow. Looks like Asen did know his mother would never be allowed to return. So their so-called mother-son bond was shallow to the extreme. Asen's gaze returned to Willow as he spoke earnestly. "Dad, I just returned home and haven't established myself yet. I'm short on people. How about letting my sister follow me?" The smile vanished from my face instantly. My expression darkened in a heartbeat. My father was probably trying to cultivate Asen, or perhaps he had long intended to weaken my influence, because he readily gave the order. "Then from now on, let Willow follow you." Asen was overjoyed. "Really? That's wonderful." As he spoke, he stepped forward to take Willow away. But I raised my hand and blocked him. My voice turned icy. "I don't agree." My father froze. "What?" I stared at him coldly, my voice growing harder with every word. "Willow belongs to me. I need her to protect me." My father frowned deeply and cursed angrily. "Bullshit. Protect you? Who in the entire syndicate can even challenge you? At this point, it's unclear whether she's your bodyguard or your haze." I replied calmly, "I like it this way." "It's none of your business." My father was left speechless. I added firmly, "This is not up for discussion." I refused to yield even an inch. Someone I had trained for years was not going to become someone else's tool. Besides, after all these years, Willow was essentially my right hand. Losing her wouldn't kill me, but it would definitely cripple me. And I don't tolerate that, especially not handing her over to Asen. And beyond all of that, if I gave Willow away this time, the outside world would think I was spineless. Wouldn't that mean anyone could trample on my dignity? I had zero interest in that. Seeing my father's expression darken with fury, Asen hurried to persuade me. "Brother, I know you can't accept me, but this family is run by father. How can you be so unreasonable? Then his gaze fell on Willow. Besides, even if you look down on Willow, she's still a person, not an object. We should respect her own wishes. Look down on Willow? I glanced at Willow, who had her eyes lowered, and suddenly laughed. Fine. Heir hadn't expected me to relent. He quickly stepped in front of Willow, his voice devout and gentle. Willow, would you be willing to follow me? I promise I'll never let anyone hurt you. His eyes were filled with tenderness, as if she were a priceless treasure. Unfortunately for him, Willow took a step back in disgust and said calmly, I only want to follow George. Heir froze on the spot. My father glared furiously. Willow, how dare you defy my order? Don't forget who saved you. But Willow didn't hesitate for even a second. Word by word, she repeated, I will only follow George. My father completely exploded. He slammed a wine glass onto the floor. Willow! The glass shattered instantly, shards flying everywhere. I pulled Willow toward me, but she still got hurt. When I saw the cut on her arm, my vision darkened with fury. I walked straight up to my father. His expression was cold, but mine didn't waver in the slightest. My voice dropped low. Don't push your luck. His face twisted with rage. His hand trembled as he pointed at me. You two are rebelling. Is that it? This is my Wang family. I let out a cold laugh. My father really was getting old. He could no longer see reality clearly. After his affair was exposed and after that foolish banquet, he had already stirred up massive resentment. And besides, when faced with an aging, muddle-headed ruler, everyone preferred a sharp and capable leader. Otherwise, how could I stand here with such confidence? I smiled faintly. How could we rebel? I'm your most filial son. Then I gave him a sideways glance and added lightly, at least, before you piss me off. My father looked around and suddenly realized something terrifying. The subordinates who once blindly followed him were now standing aside, watching coldly. Not a single one of them intended to help him. His face shifted between blue and purple. In a fit of rage, he turned around and stormed off. Heir glared at me viciously, hatred burning so fiercely in his eyes that it looked like he wanted to tear me apart alive. But I simply smiled cheerfully back at him. When Willow stepped forward and naturally took my arm, Heir's expression twisted slightly. Only then did he turn around and leave. On the way home, Willow frowned faintly. Lowering her gaze, she said quietly, George, he's strange. Leaning back in my seat with my eyes closed, I opened them when I heard her words. How so? Willow tilted her head, thinking for a moment before answering. He's completely convinced that you treat me terribly. He secretly approached me many times, trying to persuade me to leave you. I smiled faintly, not surprised by his sharp perception. Maybe he really did know something. I closed my eyes again, enjoying Willow's gentle massage as a thought crossed my mind. How interesting. It seemed that Heir truly wasn't the male lead from the book I had read. So then, was he reborn? Or had he transmigrated too? Very soon, I got my answer. Heir sought me out on his own. Looking at me as if victory were already in his hands, he smiled and said confidently, I know you're not from this world. Let me tell you something. I'm the real male lead. Willow belongs to me. No matter what you do, it's pointless. And you're no match for me. I echoed calmly, a match? Setting down my coffee cup, I said lightly, you're not even qualified to be my opponent. Heir's expression changed instantly. He gritted his teeth and snapped, George, don't be so smug. You're only ahead for now. But since I'm here, I'll set everything right. Do you really think someone like you can change the ending? I looked at him coldly, saying nothing. Seeing that I still didn't take him seriously, hatred twisted across Heir's face. He snapped angrily, just wait. I'll take back everything I lost. I blinked, then smiled gently. I'll be watching. So, Heir was a transmigrator. At the start, he probably assumed that as a chosen protagonist, he didn't need to take me seriously at all. But now, the fact that he had come storming in front of me meant only one thing. He had finally realized that the plot had changed, and that my influence was no longer something he could shake. So then, what would he do next? How exciting. In the year I graduated, I officially entered the corporation as a general manager. But in truth, I had already been the real controller of the corporation for a long time. The underworld was no longer a viable path. Through years of careful planning, I had completely cleansed the syndicate and transformed it into a publicly listed company. Now, the corporation was thriving. The former gang leaders had become shareholders, earning enormous profits every year, legally, without the constant fear and danger of past. Naturally, I had their full support. As for my father, he was still the CEO in name, but in reality, he had long become nothing more than an empty shell. At the shareholders' meeting, the shareholders proposed, for the 5th time, the transfer of leadership. Watching my father's dim, defeated expression, I curled my lips slightly. As expected, after the meeting, he came to see me, with A-son standing beside him. In a low, heavy voice, he said, "I'm willing to step down from the corporation, but I have one condition." Without even lifting my head, I replied coolly, "If it's about arranging a position for A-son, forget it." He glared at me and shouted, "Must you destroy him completely? Here's your brother." I set down my pen and finally looked at them. My tone was indifferent. "Dad, you really know how to joke. I don't even acknowledge you. Why would I acknowledge some illegitimate stray?" "George!" My father grew even more furious. I slammed the pen onto the table, cutting him off. My voice rose sharply. "Address me by my title." I continued coldly. "The only reason I still call you Dad is because I don't want to make things too ugly and ruin the Wang family's reputation." But my gaze turned icy as I stared at both of them, anger flashing in my eyes. "You should know better than anyone that the moment you sent assassins after me again and again, any so-called father-son relationship between us ended." Both of their expressions changed instantly. A-son stared at me in shock. How? How did you know?" I ignored him completely and kept my eyes locked on my father. My voice was sharp as a blade. "Father, the Wang family is no longer something you can control single-handedly. You can choose to leave with dignity, or you can be thrown out in disgrace. I'll give you only one chance to choose." My father stared at me, shocked and enraged. I didn't back down even slightly. After a long moment, his expression turned ashen. Without saying a single word, he turned and walked out of the office. A-son hurriedly followed after him. Watching their retreating figures, Willow narrowed her eyes. Her gaze was venomous, like a snake's. Her voice was icy as she said, "I can kill them. I should kill them." I stood up and gently cupped her cheek. When I saw her face flush slightly, I smiled softly, none of the earlier fierceness left in my expression. I said calmly, "Death is far too easy for them. That's not what I want. If others don't offend me, I won't offend them. But since my father and A-son dared provoke me again and again, dared to try to kill me, then they'd better be ready for me to crush them completely." After that day, my father did not step down from the corporation. But I wasn't in a hurry, because something far more interesting happened. Breaking news. Stock market genius A-son bets big on Nexafarm. Investors rush to follow. Nexafarm's market value skyrockets by billions in 10 hours. Experts warn of investment risks. Avoid blindly following. A-son's name shot straight to the very top of the trending charts. For the past 6 months, he had been appearing online again and again. He repeatedly placed massive stock investments, and every single time, he won big. Word spread rapidly. He became a legend, the stock market prodigy who never lost, the most anticipated investment genius among retail traders. Although many experts warned the public not to blindly follow the trend, their voices had little effect. I opened the comment section. As expected, it was filled with worship for A-son and ridicule toward the experts. Some comments read, "What useless experts. Last time they said not to follow, and what happened? My buddy made tens of millions overnight. Those trash experts probably secretly followed the trend themselves." With a genius like A-son hitting 100% success, only an idiot would listen to fake experts. Reporters swarmed to interview A-son. One reporter asked, Mr. Wang, it said that you invested in Nexafarm this time and many investors followed your lead. Do you have anything to say about that? Heir smiled confidently, certainty written all over his face. Thank you for your trust. The results this time will definitely satisfy everyone even more. His attitude of absolute victory sent his fan base into a frenzy. I turned off the television, smiling in satisfaction. I did like his confidence. After all, Nexafarm really did have enormous growth potential. This investment truly was guaranteed profit. Willow looked up at me and asked, should we release the information we gathered? I waved my hand lazily. Not yet. We'll wait for when it becomes even more fun. And as expected, after one market cycle, Nexafarm stock surged dramatically, becoming a massive dark horse. Investors who followed Heir made huge profits. Those who didn't were beating their chests in regret. The reputation of the so-called stock god soared to unprecedented heights, even surpassing top-tier celebrities. Countless interview programs scrambled to invite Heir. During one interview, a reporter asked about his next investment target. Heir sighed helplessly and said, my brother once asked me who I bet on next. I didn't tell him, and he threatened to kick me out of the Wang family unless I gave him the information. In an instant, the entire internet exploded. Attacks flooded in against the Wang Corporation and against me. Shocking. Major Wang family scandal exposed. Eldest son George has secretly seized control for years. George threatens stock god Heir, forbidding him from influencing investors, and tries to kick him out of the Wang family. I didn't order the PR department to suppress anything. Instead, I watched the rumor spread. I even proactively agreed to a reporter interview. The reporter asked, Mr. Wang, do you have anything to say about the online accusations? Did you threaten stock god Heir to stop sharing his investment insights? I nodded calmly. Yes, I did. She continued, were you trying to monopolize the profits for yourself? Monopolize? I shot her a sideways glance and let out a cold, disdainful laugh. What a joke! Since when has the Wang family ever cared about such pocket change? The reporter froze, her face flushing with embarrassment. After all, the Wang Corporation was a publicly listed company. Why would it care about a few million? I looked around the room, my expression serious. The stock market is unstable. Investments require caution. When investors rush into a single stock in a frenzy, it disrupts market balance, and in severe cases, it can even cause a market to crash. Do any of you want another economic bubble? The financial reporters exchanged glances, unable to respond. I continued, in my view, blindly following trends is foolish. Believing that anyone can guarantee profits and letting that belief drive her behavior is even more foolish. As his older brother and as a participant in the market, I simply issued a warning. Take it or leave it. With that, I turned to leave, but an entertainment reporter suddenly blocked my path and asked anxiously, what about the rumor that you stripped him of power? Why is there no position for Heir in the corporation? Isn't it because you maliciously expelled him? I turned back, faced the camera, and said with contemptuous make, an illegitimate child, how could he possibly enter the corporation? That single sentence completely exposed Heir's true identity. The crowd erupted. One of Heir's crazed fans instantly lost control. Wielding a knife, the fan charged at me screaming, don't you dare slander our stock god brother. Die! The next second, the attacker was slapped to the ground by Willow. Bodyguards swarmed forward and pinned the person to the floor. I didn't spare them a single glance. I simply left, with Willow at my side. After that interview, Heir's identity as an illegitimate child could no longer be hidden. The internet was flooded with discussions. And right at that moment, Heir placed another bet. Still on Nexafarm. Naturally, countless investors rushed in once again. Meanwhile, I instructed Willow to have the corporation release a statement cutting all ties with him. Yes. When I looked up, I unintentionally noticed a bruise on Willow's cheek. I frowned. You're injured. Who did this? Willow instinctively turned her head away. It's fine. Just a minor injury. I took out the medical kit. Come here. She shook her head, embarrassed. Really, it's nothing. I pinched the bridge of my nose, my voice low and stern. I'll say this one last time. Come, here. Only then did Willow obediently sit beside me. As I applied the ointment, I asked, "Someone came to the company looking for trouble?" She nodded, looking a little aggrieved. Yes. Ever since the last attack, I had strengthened the company's security, but crazed fans still showed up from time to time. Still, with her skills, how did she even get hurt? Besides me, who else could possibly land a hit on her? Willow lowered her head and whispered softly, I got distracted. Distracted? I asked, puzzled. She lifted her gaze to meet mine and said clearly, word by word, I can kill them. I really should kill them. I stood up and gently cupped Willow's cheek. When I saw her face flush slightly, I smiled softly, every trace of her earlier ferocity gone. Death would be far too easy for them, I said calmly. That's not what I want. I continued in a low voice. If others don't provoke me, I won't provoke them. But since my father and Asun dared to push me again and again, dared to try to kill me, my eyes turned cold. Then they'd better be ready for me to crush them completely. After that day, my father still didn't step down from the corporation, but I wasn't in any hurry, because something far more interesting happened. Breaking news, stock market genius Asun bets big on Nexafarm. Investors rush to follow. Nexafarm's market value skyrockets by billions in just 10 hours. Experts warn of risks. Do not blindly follow trends. Asun's name shot straight to the top of trending searches. For 6 months straight, he appeared non-stop online. Huge investments. Massive wins. Not a single loss. He became a legend overnight, the so-called stock market prodigy who never failed. Retail investors worshipped him like a god. Experts tried to warn people not to follow blindly, but no one listened. I opened the comments. As expected, it was full of praise for Asun and mockery toward the experts. Useless experts. Last time they warned us, and my friend made tens of millions overnight. Those trash experts probably followed the trend secretly. With Asun's 100% success rate, only idiots listened to fake experts. Reporters flooded to interview him. One asked, Mr. Wang, many investors followed you into Nexafarm. Do you have anything to say? Asun smiled confidently. Thank you for your trust. This time, the results will be even more satisfying. His certainty drove his fan completely wild. I turned off the TV, smiling faintly. I do like his confidence, I said. Nexafarm does have huge growth potential. This investment is guaranteed profit. Willow looked at me. Should we release the information we gathered? I waved my hand lazily. Not yet. Let's wait until it gets more interesting. Just as expected, after one full market cycle, Nexafarm stock exploded. It became the biggest dark horse of the year. Those who followed Asun made enormous profits. Those who didn't were beating their chests in regret. Asun's reputation skyrocketed, surpassing even A-list celebrities. Interview shows fought to invite him. During one interview, a reporter asked about his next investment. Asun sighed and said helplessly, My brother once asked me who I'd bet on next. I refused to tell him, and he threatened to kick me out of the Wang family. Instantly, the internet exploded. Shocking Wang family scandal exposed. Eldest son George secretly seized control years ago. George threatens stock god Asun and forbids him from guiding investors. Asun faces expulsion from the Wang family. I didn't suppress the rumors. I watched them spread. Then I agreed to an interview myself. The reporter asked, Mr. Wang, did you threaten Asun? I nodded. Yes. Were you trying to monopolize profits? I laughed coldly and shot her a sideways glance. Monopolize? Since when did the Wang family care about pocket change? The reporter froze in embarrassment. I looked around seriously. The stock market is unstable. Blind frenzy disrupts balance and can cause crashes. Do any of you want another bubble? The reporters fell silent. Blindly following trends is foolish, I continued. Believing anyone can guarantee profit is even worse. As his older brother and as a market participant, I issued a warning. Take it or leave it. I turned to leave. But an entertainment reporter stopped me. What about rumors you stripped him of power? Why is there no position for heir? I turned back, smirking coldly. An illegitimate child, how could he enter the corporation? The crowd erupted. A crazed fan suddenly rushed at me with a knife, screaming, "Don't slander our stock god! Die!" The next second, Willow slapped him to the ground. Security pinned him instantly. I didn't even look back. I left with Willow beside me. After that interview, Aeson's identity could no longer be hidden. Then, he placed another bet. Still Nexafarm. Once again, investors flooded in. I ordered Willow to release a statement cutting all ties with him. When I looked up, I noticed a bruise on her cheek. "You're injured. Who did this?" She turned away. "It's nothing." I took out the medical kit. "Come here." She hesitated. My voice dropped. "Come here." She obeyed. As I applied ointment, I asked, "Someone caused trouble again?" She nodded softly. "With your skills, how did you get hurt?" She whispered, "I got distracted." Distracted? She looked straight at me. "Because I was thinking about you." I smiled, held her head, and kissed her. "Willow," I said quietly, "never betray me. Otherwise, I'll kill you." She hugged me tightly. "I will never betray you, Master." I smiled. After a while, I said softly, "In 3 days, release the information. This game is about to begin." Rumors spread that Aeson had an affair with Nexafarm's heiress. Then came the proposal, to Maria of the Lin family. I watched calmly. "Even without Willow, I beat you," Aeson bragged. I smiled. "Congratulations." Later, chaos erupted live on air. Maria's former fiancé exposed everything publicly. Millions watched. I laughed. Aeson called me screaming. I replied coldly, "You'd better hold on. Without the main character, how does the show continue?" Then Nexafarm collapsed. Human experiments, fake drugs, deaths. Stock crashed. Investors lost everything. Aeson was detained. His reputation destroyed. He knelt before me, begging. I exposed every betrayal. I kicked him down. "This isn't a game," I said coldly. "In this world, only the winner becomes king." He was dragged out screaming. No one cared. Finally, I pulled Willow into my arms. "It's over," I said. She shook her head. "It's not." I kissed her. "There are no destined protagonists," I said. "No matter the world, only the victor becomes king."